How about we read 1 Samuel 21? So David goes to Nob. Now we learned where David put the head of Goliath. Where was it? Jerusalem. He put his armor in his tent. What did he do with that sword? What did he do with that sword? Well, let's read 21.
One.
Sure.
David went to Nob to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?"
David answered Ahimelech the priest, "The king sent me on a mission and said to me, 'No one is to know anything about the mission I am sending you on. As for my men, I have told them to meet me at a certain place.'"
What's going on here?
He's lying.
Why is Abimelech nervous? And in the verse, right? He's trembling. He comes to meet him. He says, "Why are you alone and no one's with you?" Why do you think he's nervous?
I guess David usually has people with him when he's outside of the city, like he's a commander.
This is kind of odd. Why are you on your own? Do you think he knows that there's a problem between Saul and David? Is David being truthful in the second verse? Is there any way we could somehow think he is? Some scholars have argued he is. He can't be lying.
Well, could he refer back to times where Saul has told him to leave? I think he could weakly rationalize it.
What if the king is God? Yahweh is the king. That's how some have argued this one. So they say Yahweh has charged him with the matter. After all, Jonathan just said, "The Lord has sent you off if I shoot the arrows far." And then he's going, so he's on the king's mission. Although, obviously the priest would think he means Saul, I think, right? Well, what about the rest of what he says? They said, "Why aren't you with your men?" And he says, "Oh, I've told the young men to wait for me at such and such a place." It sounds like a lie, too. I don't know. So is there a problem with the truth-telling? I listed some examples from Samuel here. We didn't read Michal's story that much, but she lied in order to cover David's escape, right? Was that wrong? David lies to Saul to help David. He says, "Oh, he's gone to Bethlehem to meet with his brothers." Right? I guess it's a lie. And now he says he's on a mission from the king, has an accompanying group of men waiting for him. Not really true. David later pretends to be insane before the Philistines to escape. What about truth-telling? What do you think the author means by these stories? Or what is the viewpoint of truth-telling in these texts? John Cassian, an ancient church father, said, "Holy men sometimes lied in praiseworthy, or at least pardonable fashion, but argue that in light of the gospel, these things are utterly forbidden, such that none of them can be committed without very serious sin and sacrilege." So basically he's saying back in the day, they did it in all right manner, but now we have the gospel, no lying. What do you think? Why does the gospel bring the change as to what's appropriate? Or is he wrong that some people lied in praiseworthy or at least pardonable fashion? John Chrysostom, early church father, famous preacher, said, "Not in war only, but also in peace, the need of deceit may be found. Not merely in reference to affairs of the state, but in private life."
But his wife loved that he said that. Probably wasn't married, but still.
Why? I don't get it.
It just...
His private life?
Yeah.
Lie to your wife?
Sometimes you just have to lie, even in private.
Keep the wife happy. She doesn't need to know.
Sweet. Thanks, John.
Do you agree with Johnny?
Experientially, yes.
I have never lied. Okay, I just lied. No. So an example a lot of people would make is in World War II, was it all right to lie that you had Jews hiding in your wall? Well, Augustine says it's never right to tell a lie, even to save an innocent life. So he would say, no, you better tell those Nazis that you have Jewish kids hiding in your wall. Better that the body of the innocent die than the eternal soul of the liar be jeopardized. What do you think? Amen? No.
No, I don't think so.
No. I don't agree with them either. Thomas Aquinas, famous medieval theologian, says there's 3 categories of lies. He says there's a lie that's just kind of a joke, a falsehood told for amusement, so it's all right to joke. Officious lies, or a white lie that hurts nobody. And then there's injurious lies, lies that cause harm. So what would David's lie be categorized in? I don't know if he ever said that about David. I haven't read all of Aquinas, but
I feel like it would be injurious because the priest dies.
The priest does die. Yes. The 10 Commandments, of course, talk about bearing false witness, false testimony is barred. Of course, the Hebrew midwives in Exodus 1, they're supposed to kill the baby boys that are born, and they lie and say, oh, the Hebrew women are so tough, they just give birth so fast, by the time we get there, they're gone. We can't do anything about it. Total lie, right? Rahab, of course, lies to the king of Jericho in order to aid Israel in conquering the city, and her actions are considered examples of faith in the New Testament. So David here says he's on a mission for the king. Some say he doesn't lie because Yahweh is the king. So it's not a formal falsehood. So David has a mental reservation of what he means by king that is not shared by his audience. That's how some theologians or philosophers talk about lying. Mental reservation. So I could say I'm playing baseball and I hit the ball and the ball breaks my neighbor's window, and then they say, did you break my window? I'm like, no, I didn't. It was the ball. It wasn't me, right? So my mental reservation is the ball did it, not me. So I'm telling the truth, but I'm pretty much lying, right? Yeah. So what do we do about these? The examples of the Hebrew midwives who praised, God blesses them with their own families for their actions. Jonathan lies to save David. Michal lies. They serve as examples of deceiving to save an innocent life. So some theologians call them a necessary lie. A lie justified due to a conflict between truth-telling and doing the right thing. So I figure, as long as I figure I'm doing the right thing, I'm just going to go around lying whenever it helps then, right? No. Well, a lot of the times I think in our own lives the challenge is speaking the truth rather than lie to our own advantage. And I don't think the Bible is trying to encourage you to do that. Lie just to appease someone or make things a little nicer here and there. Those seem to be lies that were in order to do the right thing and usually to save an innocent life. Our intentions are rarely fully pure, or rarely has it where speaking the truth would result in a life being lost. Ephesians 4:25 says, put off falsehood, speak truthfully to your neighbor. But David's actions in 1 Samuel 21 are affirmed by Jesus. He actually uses an example that, hey, when David went and took that bread of the presence when they were criticized for taking the grains on the Sabbath, right? Well, let's read a little bit more. So Abimelech's fear. David being alone, does that hint at his fugitive status? Or is Ahimelech nervous because Doeg is there? Doeg the Edomite, it turns out in a little bit, is present. And if Ahimelech knew that, maybe he's nervous. David, what are you doing here? Doeg's here. Why are you on your own? So David says he's on a mission for the king. Cover story for the priest more than for him. Meant for the ears of Doeg. Do you know what I mean? So he's there, and the priest is nervous because Doeg's there, and David is speaking because he knows Doeg's hearing. Oh, I'm on a mission for the king. So the priest has a cover story. So the priest is not in collusion with David, right? Even if they really are in collusion. but he gives him an out, right? Let's read a little bit more of the story. Verse 3. David's saying,
Yeah. Now then, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever you can find.
We don't have any regular bread, the priest replied, but there is the holy bread which you can have if your young men have not slept with any women recently.
Definitely. David answered the priest, whenever I go out to war, women are off limits. That's our standard operating procedure. Even on regular missions, the men's gear is kept holy. That's even more true today, with the mission holy along with the gear.
okay, so here obviously I don't think you can defend the non-lying thing. This is all part of the tale that I'm with the men. Oh yeah, and the men are pure. It's all good. And he wants this bread to be taken with him. So the priest gives him the holy bread. So in Leviticus, a violation of another law was allowed by Moses due to extenuating circumstances. Violations of the Sabbath were allowed for priests to prepare sacrifices or circumcise or rescue an animal. So eating the sacred bread, the priest determines that it was all right in this instance to violate it. Jesus, of course, later ends up seemingly thinking it was okay. But look at verse 7.
Now one of Saul's servant was there that day. He came before the Lord. He was Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief shepherd.
So Doeg's been there all along. And so I think it is helpful to read all David's speech and the priest's speech in light of their knowledge of Doeg's presence. So the way they communicate may be, like I said, it's kind of a cover story for the priest. So rather than think of David lying to the priest, they may have been in inclusion together. After all, where did he store the sword? Let's read the next verse.
David asked Ahimelech, don't you have a spear or a sword here? I haven't brought my sword or any other weapons because the king's mission was urgent.
The priest replied, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no sword here but that one. David said, there is none like it. Give it to me.
Okay, so if we keep in mind Doeg is listening, the priest mentioning it in this way could be a warning to Doeg. Do you know what I mean? He says, the sword of Goliath, whom you killed in the valley of Elah. Maybe it's a warning to Doeg. This is David. Don't, you know, like, it could be that it's spoken that way. That's what some commentators suggested. And David, of course, takes the sword. So David put the sword there, which is interesting. Why would he put the sword there? So some think that basically the priest and David are in collusion. And so he had this plan that he would go there if he needed the sword one day. So David leaves, goes to Philistia, and he gets there. And the servants think that look in verse 11, the servants of Achish say to him, is this not David, the king of the land? Did they not sing that he killed his thousands and David his 10,000? So they know about David. And they say he's king of the land. It's kind of interesting. So David was very afraid. He changes his behavior, pretends to be crazy. Scratched marks on the doors, let spittle run down his beard. And how about the last little bit? Is there internal problems with the Philistines here? Someone read the last verse, 15?
Am I so short of madmen that you have to bring this fellow here to carry on like this in front of me? Must this man come into my house?
So it's kind of funny. He's calling his own people, his servants, madmen already. A little later, Achish buys into David, and David works for him, and then he has problem with other people believing Achish. So maybe some of this later conflict with Achish and his fellow Philistines goes back to this attitude. Your guys are a bunch of crazy guys. So anyway, David pretends to be crazy to get away. So I don't think we need to belabor any more about the truth-telling aspect of it, because we already kind of went through it. But